The second season of Jujutsu Kaisen has finished, and what an amazing season it was. From some of the best anime fights in all anime to some of the worst deaths in anime, it was such a great season that now we are craving more of Jujutsu Kaisen. But unfortunately, we are not expecting Season 3 until 2025, so what do we do now? Hey everyone, AJ Anime here, and today in this video, we will be discussing everything you need to know about the upcoming Culling Games arc. Before we start the actual topic, you guys need to know about Kinjaku. Yeah, this one, and how he is controlling everything in the JJK universe. Kinjaku is an ancient and powerful Jujutsu sorcerer who has lived for over 1,000 years using his innate technique. This technique allows him to implant his brain into another person's body and gain control of it, even if the person is dead. In the aftermath, it leaves a stitched scar mark across the forehead, which Kinjaku can open to reveal his brain. Kinjaku can access the cursed energy and innate cursed techniques of whoever's body he possesses, and as a result, even the Six Eyes cannot tell the difference between him and the actual owner of the host body. Kinjaku has lived through different eras of Jujutsu, and has done so by inhabiting the bodies of various sorcerers. Only 4 of those hosts were mentioned, despite it being heavily implied that many more people have fallen victim to his technique. Here are some of the bodies Kinjaku has occupied in his lifetime. About 400 years before the start of Jujutsu Kaisen's main events, Kinjaku possessed the body of an unnamed sorcerer, using it as a means to get closer to the other sorcerers in that era and make binding vows with them, the terms of which will be expanded upon later during the anime. Among the aforementioned sorcerers, Hajime Kashimo is the most notable. The Kamo family, one of the big 3 sorcerer families, was targeted by Kinjaku during the Meiji era in Japan, with Noritoshi Kamo ending up as one of his victims. During his time as Noritoshi, Kinjaku conducted many unethical experiments centered around combining cursed spirits and humans. He imprisoned a woman and performed many coupling experiments with her and cursed spirits, which led to 9 pregnancies and 9 abortions. The results of his experiments, the cursed womb death paintings, were so vile that all records of them were destroyed, and he was regarded as a stain on the legacy of the Kamo family and the evilest Jujutsu sorcerer of all time. After Noritoshi Kamo, the next victim of Kinjaku was the mother of our main protagonist, Yuji Itadori. After the death of Kaori Itadori, Jin Itadori's wife, Kinjaku occupied her body. While posing as his wife, they had a baby whom they would name Yuji Itadori. Yes, you heard right. Kinjaku was the one who gave birth to Yuji. I know it sounds a bit creepy, but the truth is that the reason for possessing her is largely unknown because Kinjaku does not select hosts randomly, but it is believed that it surrounds the birth of Yuji. A popular theory concerning this is that Kinjaku made a binding vow with Sukuna hundreds of years prior to the current story to prepare a vessel for Sukuna's return. Another theory is that Yuji is the vessel for the creature that is created from humanity's merger with Tengen. What are your theories? Let me know in the comments. Finally, after Kaori, the next victim of Kinjaku was Suguru Geto. The goo you saw during the events of Shibuya is none other than Kinjaku. The Geto Suguru most people are familiar with is Kinjaku, because he died before the main events of the story at the hands of Yuta Okutsu. Seeing as he was one of the 4 special grade sorcerers in the series, the higher-ups should have done a better job at safeguarding his body. However, due to their negligence, Kinjaku was able to get his hands on a gem unlike any other. He gained access to cursed spirit manipulation and the outstanding physical capabilities of Geto, and was referred to as Pseudo-Geto until he revealed his true name. Now the actual question. What does this Kinjaku guy want? Does he want to seize and rule the world? Or does he want to obliterate everything in his way? Rather than that, it looks like he has a unique goal. In Chapter 202 of the Jujutsu Kaisen manga, Kinjaku reveals his grand plan, which is to merge Master Tengen and all the non-sorcerers in Japan to give birth to a single entity. He doesn't know what the outcome will be, how the entity will look, what it will do, but that's his intention. Upon Choso questioning him to further explain his motive, like what's in it for him and why he is doing it in the first place, Kinjaku simply replies, "It just sounds fun." He even mentions that if the resulting entity had a funny face, it wouldn't be hilarious. In a nutshell, he felt like a kid holding a crayon in his hand along with a blank sheet. Deep down, that's how he feels, and the guy simply wants to put an end to humanity for fun. Kinjaku is a 1,000-year-old sorcerer, so it is obvious that he is planning something. Like I said, during ancient times, he was making binding vows with the strongest sorcerers to set the stage for the event called Culling Games. Right after the end of the Shibuya Incident arc, the Culling Game officially began its initial stages. The game itself is essentially a massive battle royale that pits a grand total of 1,000 sorcerers and curse users against each other in order to optimize cursed energy in a way for Kinjaku to eventually achieve his final plan. The game is structured in 10 colonies all across Japan and is done this way because the fighting between the sorcerers starts to accumulate a lot of cursed energy, which is what Kinjaku covets. All of these colonies are connected by boundary-binding barriers, and they stretch from the most western part of Japan, with Hokkaido being the only unaffected area due to its relevance as a holy land. There are two ways that the participants are chosen: those who ingested cursed relics, such as Hajime Kashimo, and those who simply had their cursed technique awakened, such as Hiromi Higuruma. The former are essentially sorcerers who made a deal with Kinjaku decades or centuries ago, in which they had to go into a deep sleep tied to cursed relics that Kinjaku would feed to innocent vessels in the modern day. When the seal on the relic expires, the sorcerer will wake up in the body of the vessel but be in full control of it. The latter are just everyday people who have their cursed technique unlocked. As they fight against one another, they continually release more and more cursed energy. It is then accumulated and moves all across the country, essentially covering all of Japan in a blanket of cursed energy. And aside from Hokkaido, all parts of Japan are encompassed within this blanket. This is where Kinjaku's ultimate goal comes in. By doing this and effectively covering every citizen of Japan up in this blanket, the entirety of humanity is now primed to quote-unquote evolve. Now, let's talk about the rules of Culling Games. Just as the Culling Game started, the 8 rules for the game were made public to all those participating and all those who had the option to. The way that the rules were structured made it sure that no one, not even Kinjaku himself, was the game master. The game was essentially its own master, as Kinjaku had designed it through many binding vows and rules to make sure that the game would achieve its purpose of harvesting cursed energy even if he died. 1. For those sorcerers that were given an ability due to Kinjaku using Mahito's transfiguration ability, these players must participate in the game within 19 days of the activation of their cursed techniques at a barrier of their choosing. 2. Any player who breaks the previous rule or does not comply with it by refusing to participate will undergo a cursed technique removal, which forcefully removes their cursed technique. Shoko explains that this would likely cause the death of the player, as the forceful removal may be too much for their brains to handle. 3. Any non-player who enters a colony for whatever reason will be considered an active player within the Culling Game at the moment of their entry. 4. The objective of the game is to accumulate the most points, and the way to collect these points is by killing other players. 5. Points indicate the value of a player's life. As a general rule within the game, sorcerers are worth 5 points, whereas non-sorcerers are only worth 1 point. 6. Any player who has accumulated 100 points in the Culling Game, excluding the value of their lives, may add their own rule to the game. 7. In accordance with the previous rule, the Culling Game must accept the rules added by players as long as they don't have a marked or long-term effect on the game and are in line with the already established 8 rules. 8. If the score of any player in the Culling Game remains unchanged for a total duration of 19 days, they too are subject to cursed technique removal. Kinjaku's main motivation is very simple to define, despite his mysterious nature: curiosity. You can even call him a mad scientist who wants to test things like he did with the death painting. Kinjaku's plan is for the amount of accumulated cursed energy to be so great by the end of the game that he will use it for his greater plan. Since we already know that Kinjaku wants humanity to achieve the next form in its evolution by optimizing cursed energy, he wants to merge all of the human species with Master Tengen to make one singular cursed entity. The fact of the matter is, even though he doesn't know what this will do, he just wants to see what it would be like. So this is it for today's video, folks. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more amazing videos. See you next time!